Good day everyone. In this video, we'll be talking about a very controversial topic happening right now in the Philippines, the Anti-Terror Bill. But first, we should know what the bill is all about. The Anti-Terror Act is a Philippine law whose intent is to prevent, prohibit, and penalize terrorism in the Philippines. It was added in the letter by the embassy in Washington that the Anti-Terrorism Act itself strongly mandates that human rights be absolute and protected at all times. President Duterte even defended the law, as he said that law-abiding citizens should not fear the law as its main target are terrorist groups. But then, why are people so afraid of it?
The implementation of this bill, without any doubt, is a violation of human rights because it takes away the freedom of speech among the citizens. You see, the legislation creates a council appointed by the president, which can designate individuals and groups as terrorists and even detain them without charge for up to 24 days. It also allows for surveillance, wiretaps, and punishments that include life imprisonment without parole. Going back to how it started, according to the current administration, they pushed through with this bill right away because of the threat of extremist groups in Mindanao.
What really is alarming about this bill is that it has remarkably widened the definition of a terror act, which now includes any action that creates an atmosphere of fear. Many human rights groups, movements, and activists have protested against it and have requested it to be changed or voided because of this principle. There have also been other problems with regard to the implementation of this bill, which is the fact that they pushed through with it in the middle of a pandemic, where the government's first priority should be the safety and the health of their people. It was said that the government should have focused more on urgent matters during the pandemic, especially on public safety and the impact of this virus or the disease on the poorest of the poor.
There has also been a lot of criticism from some of the congressmen and members of the Senate even before it was mandated by the government. Many have already suffered and faced the brutality of this law, as those who are posting criticisms against the current administration are being arrested by police officers without an arrest warrant. This shows how this law has instilled fear among the citizens instead of creating peace and justice.
The government tells us that its goal is to strengthen the security of the nation through this law that supposedly contains terrorist acts. But the church and its leaders think otherwise. They call this terror bill morally wrong. Catholic bishops said that the country is taking the wrong path to peace. And the Protestant church leaders said that the president's decision was a travesty against God's will. The church deems this as mistreatment to morally and constitutionally granted freedom of speech and expression.
The stance of faith leaders is geared towards believing that this law is an obliteration of democratic space and the elimination of a healthy public sphere that is vital to the progressiveness and awareness of its citizens. All of these reflect the Church's concern for the nation in exercising our rights to criticize the inaction of the government for an improved and secure country.
This has also caught the attention of the members of the Church, as it violates the Catholic social teachings, as well as the dignity of the human person. It deprives the Filipinos from exercising their rights, as they consider it as an instrument of oppression directed towards active and critical citizenry.
As stated by the Lasallian brothers, our top priority should be solidarity and our attention, efforts, and resources in focusing on fighting this virus and in helping our people. The act to keep this nation silent will not help the country advance, as the Church recommends speaking up as part of judicial and social efforts to achieve peace and unity.
The anti-terror bill has truly been a threat to democracy, freedom, and human rights of every Filipino citizen. As this bill was passed, various organizations from different sectors voiced their opinions and acted accordingly to the bill. The church people worked with solidarity, expressed their opinion on the negative implications of the anti-terror bill, and called for its abolition. They said that this bill causes the Filipino people to have their basic human rights stripped and disrespected, which is in violation of the Catholic social teachings and the country's constitution.
Other than the CWS, the Association of Major Religious Superiors in the Philippines, or AMRSP, a charismatic movement, pointed out the flagrant motives of the government for implementing this bill in spite of the global health crisis the country is facing right now. AMRSP calls on the government to put the welfare of the Filipino people first. Father Angel Cortez, Executive Secretary of AMRSP, called out the government's hypocrisy of displaying acts of terrorism in the country when they engaged in the extrajudicial killings during the president's infamous drug war. Last August 26, 2020, the AMRSP filed its 30th petition against the bill. Father Cortez, together with their organization's top lawyers, marched to the Supreme Court to file the concern to abolish the bill because of its implicated injustices on every citizen.
The De La Salle brothers and the Jesuits have also issued a statement against the anti-terror bill, explaining that it is worrisome that the government doesn't show transparency with their actions. They also called out how their definition of a terrorist is vague, and how this can also affect an individual's safety and privacy, as policemen are able to arrest them without a warrant.
Millions of people have started to open their eyes and wake up to the actions of the government. In fact, the youth has been one of the leading groups to call out the government's blatant disrespect to human rights. It is highly encouraged that organizations such as the CWS and the AMRSP are promoted and supported for advocating for the common good. To conclude this video, we call out to you, the viewer, to stand up and fight for the rights of our kababayans.
Let us defend our freedom,
Our rights,
Our lives.
Our security,
And our country.